Your new favorite women's basketball pod has arrived. Join broadcasters, hoopers, and friends Meghan McKeown
and Zora Stephenson for Got Next, a weekly show dedicated to all things women's basketball.
We'll share our power rankings during the college season, get you up to speed on the biggest stories. Of course, we'll tell you who's got next. Think up-and-coming player or team, and you'll hear from players and coaches too.
Speaking of players, Zora played at Elon University.
And Meghan was a guard at Northwestern. Now we travel the country every week calling games, but this year we want to take you with us. I still have the confetti from Caitlin Clark's record-breaking game in my backpack.
Remember, it took us like 2 hours to get into the parking lot that game?
We almost missed the game. Clearly, this pod won't be all about ball.
Yeah, remember when you woke me up at 4 a.m. freaking out about a tornado in Columbus, Ohio?
We came downstairs in our pajamas and sat there for like an hour. That day solidified our friendship.
We've got stories for days, by the way.
If you can't tell, we love this game and we can't wait to share it with all of you. Got Next, weekly on the NBC Sports YouTube page or wherever you get your podcasts. Meghan's jamming. I'm smiling from ear to ear. Welcome in to Got Next, everyone. What started as us just going back and forth, chit-chatting like we always do, is not just an idea anymore. It's a reality with a logo and music. We are so excited. This is all fueled by our love of ball. We've been playing basketball as long as we can remember.
Yeah.
Are we still playing?
Some days.
Some days are better than
I
others.
retired to horse only.
And now we travel the country talking all about women's basketball. And with the rise of the game right now, we thought, what better time?
We are like the friends, everyone sits down, they're like, oh, let's, start a podcast over a couple glasses of wine. And then we actually were able to bring this to fruition. We're so excited that NBC Sports was like, yeah, let's do it, because women's basketball is at a peak right now. And it's so exciting that everybody else is finally realizing how good of a game and a product this is right now, coming off the WNBA season, going into college hoops. We are primed for another big year. Also, shout out to you for matching our set. How cool does this look? And Zora, I mean, she just looks like she came with the set.
If you
it's
can't
perfect.
tell what my favorite color is, I did like Northwestern.
I know. Well, listen, Wildcat, you don't have to convince me purple's a good color. Come on.
And we travel the country every single week, covering games. And so this year we're like, let's bring all of our new friends, that would be you all, with us as we break down things. Meghan is going to do power rankings. I'll contribute here and there. We'll share stories of our travels. We've got crazy stories. And we're going to talk to some awesome guests, coaches, players, analysts. And we're kicking everything off with a preview of 5 different conferences.
I'm so excited about this, by the way. And it's one of those things where we want everybody who is listening to this, watching this at home, depending on how you're getting your podcast, to feel like the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
Women's basketball, there's a lot of teams. There's so many incredible storylines this year. There's so much talent. We want to bring that all to you in a way that's easily digestible.
If you're new to the game, join us. And if you've loved it forever, you can join us as well. There's a little bit for everyone. So, Got Next, your new favorite weekly podcast, drop in every Tuesday. Let's do this, friends.
Let's do it, girl.
Time for our ACC Yeah, you gotta sit up for this one. And you gotta listen up too, because there's a lot of additions to the ACC.
It's no longer just the Atlantic Coast.
We go out west. We look at Stanford. Cal is gonna take some getting used to, and SMU. All now a part of the ACC. How does that shake things up for you?
It's just wild to just get used to as a sports fan who's used to the ACC being just teams kind of in the Southeast Europe, the East Coast of the country. But it's really interesting. This is the time that we're in right now in college sports, where the Big Ten now has 18 teams. The ACC now gets 18 teams. What's fascinating about adding SMU, Cal, and Stanford is traditionally one of the best women's basketball programs in the country. And what's even more fascinating is they now move forward without the legendary Tara VanDerveer as the head coach now.
To Tara.
Who all-time winningest coach in women's basketball, like everything she has done for the game, it doesn't even, we can't even describe or put into words.
The impact,
the amount of championships, Final Fours, what she has done for women's basketball. Not to mention, recruiting at Stanford, there's a type of player. You have to be a high academic player to get into Stanford and be successful there. And Tara VanDerveer pretty much wrote the book on how to have sustained success with a high academic team, and it's wildly impressive. And one of the legends of the game who has now gone on to the next level in her life.
Stanford made Nerd Nation cool. I grew up. I'm biased. I love Stanford. That was like my favorite school growing up. And
Really?
Yeah.
Goes to California too, like.
Yeah,
I
went to their camp, everything.
You went to their camp?
Yeah, like Tara just didn't want me, but it's okay.
She didn't want me.
I did everything.
I feel like a lot of people probably felt that way. That Tara didn't want a lot of people.
Yeah, like I know some people have, other dream institutions. Stanford was mine because of the true student athlete they have to be to succeed at that.
It's going to be interesting too. Kate Pay takes over now. The longtime Tara VanDerveer associate head coach, assistant coach, now is the head coach. So it's going to be interesting to see just this new era and going to be a lot of fun as well. It's nice to see that these universities are hiring the next person to replace legends like Tara VanDerveer, like Lisa Bluter in Iowa hiring Jan Jensen. Kate Pay is that next. Makes the most sense to put into that head coaching seat because she's been a part of the program for so long.
Neil Ivey at Notre Dame. That's a great segue as we continue
it's such a good
our
segue.
ACC talk. And we've got to bring in a guest for this, right?
Duh.
Everyone loves just listening to both of us, but it's better when there's more people involved. So Asia Ellison, former Maryland Terp, former Texas A&M Aggie, and our teammate here at NBC, as we call Big Ten games on Peacock. We're bringing you in to talk ACC.
Asia, we're talking about all the new teams that are now in the ACC, but it feels like despite the new additions, this conference is still in Notre Dame's for the taking. You have Olivia Miles back after dealing with an injury last season. Hannah Hidalgo is coming off a fantastic freshman year where it felt like she won every single award. How do you summarize this Notre Dame team?
I'm really excited. Notre Dame's one of the teams that I'm really excited to see how they look this year, especially with Olivia Miles coming back. We have so many new fans coming into this league. So for those that don't know, Olivia Miles, she is one of the best point guards in the league. I was such a huge fan of hers, especially before she got hurt. So you talk about that she and Hannah Hidalgo now playing together. It's even more exciting. I was watching their ACC press conference and they described it as dangerous. They're going to be a dangerous duo. And anticipate Hannah Hidalgo moving more to that 2 position and Olivia Miles playing more of the point. Again, she has the height, she has great floor vision, she can pick apart the defense, kick out to the scores that she has around the perimeter. So it's going to be really exciting. Very dynamic offense for Notre Dame. Also, she can rebound the basketball, able to push it out, and she just has the pieces around her to be able to create and generate great offense.
Outside of Notre Dame, Asia, let's go to the Triangle, my neck of the woods, North Carolina and the Triangle. We're talking Duke, UNC, and NC State. Where do you think or predict they're going to fall this season?
Absolutely. They're putting on for the state of North Carolina. Duke is the team that I'm most excited to watch this season. Meghan, you had them when they were at their peak, in the postseason for the NCAA tournament, but I was kind of with them from the beginning, and they literally they started from the bottom and really rose to the occasion with being a new team, rebuilding. The talented freshman class they had last year are now sophomores. They're led by Reagan Richardson, who's a vet. And then they have an incredible freshman, Fournier, coming in. She fits perfectly into Kara Lawson's philosophy, which is really exciting. And girl can dunk the basketball. She's dunking the basketball consistency and live game action. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to. But they're a team that I think they're going to cause a lot of havoc, cause a lot of problems in the ACC. And then NC State, Wes Moore always finds a way. And honestly, if I could make a prediction today, I do believe we could have a rematch of Notre Dame and NC State there. They're returning a really strong front court. I think what'll be interesting to see, backcourt. And what'll be interesting to see is how they're going to replace River Baldwin in the front court. So that'll be really exciting to see. But they've got talent coming in for them, dynamic scoring, dynamic on both ends of the floor there. And then for UNC, obviously they lost Deja Kelly, but that's no problem there. They've got an interesting mix of newcomers, players that stayed. They're led by Donarski and Usby, who were respectively second and third in scoring. So I think with UNC, the biggest thing there will just have that balance, that dynamic attack. I think we're going to see a lot of balanced scoring there, and they're just going to have to get it done on both ends of the floor.
By the way, shout out to Asia Ellison, because during the NCAA tournament, she was out west covering Nebraska and Oregon State, and that she hooked me up with talking shop about Duke because you had them so much, and just like people helping people. And I always will be very appreciative because you helped get me ready. Because listen, Kara Lawson's defense was so flustering last season. It literally won them the game against Ohio State in the second half to go to the Sweet 16. And it was an upset. A lot of people thought Ohio State last season was going to the Final Four, but Duke's defense and the fact that they barely have lost anybody is very scary. Another team that could be scary this year, Louisville. I feel like Jeff Walz is another coach that you just can't count out. He knows how to get it done. They seem to be in really good shape as we get ready for this year.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked about Duke's defense. Louisville, another team, they have really stifling defense. I'm talking in your face with a philosophy. I remember covering them. I'm just on the sideline, literally suffocating myself from their defense. And the interesting thing with them is Jeff Walsey hasn't had a lot of success in the transfer portal. However, you still have Marissa Russell, Olivia Cochran in the mix. And as well as he brought in 3 of the top 25 players in the recruiting class. So they're just gonna have to come in, step up, make a impact immediately. But again, they rely heavily on their defense. That's the hallmark of their team. So I think start with that foundation and they come in and they wreak havoc on the defensive end. That offense is gonna come. And like you said, Meghan, I think they're gonna see a lot of success this season as well.
It's crazy, too. Jeff Walz has only missed one NCAA tournament in his 17 years at Louisville. I mean, that's just a team. It's always, you got to count them in almost at the beginning of the season all the time.
Oh, yeah. They're a staple team. They're a hallmark team in this league. You always have to count Louisville in.
Who have we not talked about that deserves some love? Who's got next? Name of the show here. Who's got next in the ACC?
Of course. I mean, I think one of my sleeper teams I think that we don't talk about enough is FSU. Now, granted, in the ACC rankings, they did come in at 5th with the votes, but again, I don't think they're talked about enough. They're returning Latson. She was former freshman of the year a couple seasons ago. Very talented. They had one of the best offenses in the league last season. They've got some key transfers that are going to come in. They're going to bring a lot of size at the guard and post position. So that'll bring just a lot more rebounding, that inside out balance game. It'll be interesting to see. I think they're going to have to build that chemistry a bit. So we might see it later on. But I think as far as my sleeper team, a team that we don't talk about and a team that I think is going to do a lot better than expected for me is definitely Florida State.
And we've been doing a number of women's basketball previews for various conferences. What's your perspective on the style of play in the ACC? I feel like it's getting shaken up a bit because you had this West Coast style of basketball, but overall, how do they play in the ACC?
The ACC, very athletic conference. They're going to get up and down a lot. The defense is really good, very finesse, very highly skilled, high IQ teams here. And I mean, it has always from the start been a gauntlet. And I think last season we were just spoiled and treated. You saw how the rankings just switch every single week because these teams, every single team in conference, even the teams that start at the bottom, the Syracuse, Clemson, teams like that, they played, they competed, win or loss. The games were close. The games were so much fun. As I said before, a lot of switches in the rankings. So it'll be a lot of fun. I anticipate the same things this season with the newcomers coming in, transfers, obviously new teams coming in from Pac-12. So it'll be really exciting. But as far as what separates the ACC, I think it's definitely that athleticism. The level of play in the conference is extremely high. That's why it's one of the top conferences.
Asia, we so appreciate your expertise and all you do for the women's game. I hope we get to do some games this season together.
Yes, I'm really excited.
I hope everyone feels more informed, too, as they head into the season. The word that I love that Asia used, gauntlet, for the ACC.
You like spicy, and you like gauntlet.
I like
These
impactful,
are all good words.
powerful
I agree.
words.
That's why you're good at what you do. This is a conference that consistently has been one of the best in women's basketball. It consistently gets 7, 8, 9 teams into the NCAA tournament. Like, you got to have some game if you're playing against the ACC. It's fast-paced. You have to know your personnel, and you have to be able to defend. It's huge. But at the end of the day,
with that in mind,
I know you're going to go into my preseason prediction. Zora, is ready for y'all to come for me, by the way.
No, I'm not. I really agree with who you have.
I'm glad. Well, I mean, like
On the
Notre Dame
slate.
runs the table, and how can they not, right? Hannah Hidalgo coming back after the Defensive Player of the Year in the ACC, Rookie of the Year in the ACC. She led the nation in steals with nearly 5 a game. Her anticipation is excellent, and the timing of her steals. She reads like the core and the eyes of the defender, and she times it up perfectly, dishes it off. She's a walking bucket. Then you have Olivia Miles obviously coming in too, but Hannah Hidalgo to me is the favorite for ACC Player of the Year. She was the pick for preseason Player of the Year. All the things there. Notre Dame, they have the pieces to be a Final Four team. They have the depth, they have the experience, they have all the talent in the world. They also are the favorite, in my opinion, to win the ACC. So right now, ball's in their court.
And they've got a coach, Niele Ivey, who's been there talking about the Final Four, both as a player and a coach. It'd also be interesting to see Hannah play off the ball with Olivia back.
And I'm excited for that Notre Dame Duke matchup. I'm telling you what, the defense.
A lot of matchups.
From Duke, it's unbelievable. NC State, like, I mean, Asia talked about all these teams, UNC. It's crazy from top to bottom. And then, like, Syracuse had an incredible year last year. It's going to be fascinating to see what's
And then
in store.
the juxtaposition of a team like Notre Dame and Stanford. I'm just talking style of play.
Oh my gosh.
And how those will mesh in conference.
And that's a long flight, by the way. South Bend to, we got to go to San Francisco. Probably they'll charter into Palo Alto somewhere.
Alto.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed our ACC preview, got you up to speed. You're ready for the season now.